with the studios up and down and the churn and burn that we do have here, and, you know, and angel investors and VCs come in and they invest in companies and then they get burned. And with crowdfunding that's happening now, we've got a lot of projects that just got a ton of money. You know, whether or not they succeed, that's still really up in the air. We won't know for another year or two. So I think the question is, with all of this up and down, especially the down and the hard crashes and the well-publicized burns, do you think it's going to be harder or easier to secure funding, and why?
Yes. Yes, it will be both. I've gone through the fundraising now, basically through every way you can do it, right? I've had VC do one company. I've had, I think we had 7 publishers on Shadowbane before we shipped the thing, and eventually it got bought by Ubisoft. And now I've got our CEO and chairman was the original guy who put all the money in and really got everything started. So I've been through it. And one thing I'll say is it's never easy. Like the whole finding the right connection between here's what we want to create, and here's the person or the people or the organization that's going to give you the money to get up and running is always a stressful, painful thing, and finding the right connection too, and having the basically the strength of conviction to even at some point say, I know there's an offer there, but it's not the right offer, so we're going to walk away from it, even though we don't know what other offers might be out there. It's very, very hard. It's very challenging. So the boom and bust thing, I don't know. I mean, it's I've never. I mean, some companies are always, it seems like, cranking something up. Somebody always finds a way. So if the right people come along at the right time with the right idea, I think they'll find a way. Okay. And quite frankly, let's be honest. We do this because we love what we do. We don't go start accounting firms. I mean, that's just not this kind of personality. So what else are we going to do, right?
Yeah. Anyone else want to comment on that?
Getting money sucks. It's hard. It's always been hard. It was hard when I started. It was hard when I did my startup. I look around and it's still hard. I see people now who have 15, 20 years experience being resorted to go to Kickstarter to make what are obviously brilliant looking games. It's hard. I don't see that as changing. Usually when you see a lot of easy money going around, it is usually because a big platform has caught on and people are hoping to ride the wave of that. You saw that with Facebook. You saw that a little bit with the iPad. If you see another one of those and you want to, get money from an investor, watch for whatever is next there. If you want to set up AAA companies, it's still really hard to do it without signing up with a publisher. Todd is a freak. I don't know how you did that, but that's really rare. So.
I think what's interesting about Kickstarter, too, is some people saw the early successes and pointed to those as anecdotal evidence that Kickstarter was the new and easy way to get money for their games. But I've talked to some people who have tried a Kickstarter project, and they viewed it as almost like a risk-free way to try and do the game without needing to involve investors or publishers. But then the flip side to that was that when they put it on Kickstarter and they didn't get the fund amount, like it didn't fund, it failed, and then they went, okay, well, now let's shop it around to publishers. Well, now the publishers have proof positive that your idea has no legs. Nobody's interested. You had a chance to put it on Kickstarter and nobody gave you money, so why are people then going to buy it when we pay for you to make it? So even Kickstarter is risky, and I think the point's been made that there is never easy money. Every now and then some people get lucky, but no matter which way you choose to do it, investors, publishers, Kickstarter, there's always risk, and very few things succeed, and only the people who are dedicated to it and also have a good idea are going to get away with it.
So just an interesting observation on Kickstarter. So we're a totally independent company, self-funded, like bootstrap startup all the way. And we've often considered, how do we get funding? We want to go out, build our own game, self-funded, et cetera. We look at everything. We've looked at Kickstarter. And the thing that really strikes me about Kickstarter, at least in the space that we're in, this, in the console space, the high-end space, I see people talking just blown away by the amount of money that's raised on Kickstarter. And, admittedly, there's games raising $2.5+ million. That's a lot of money. And
not for us.
The games business,
Not for us.
and in the console business, that's not a lot of money. That'll pay for a couple months of paying the bills. Yeah, a couple meetings and your internet connection. So yeah, in all honesty, I think that Kickstarter is awesome, and in the same way that free-to-play games are awesome. This going direct to the consumer, and if you can do that, to pay for your game, whether it's through a microtransaction model, whether it's through sort of pre-selling your game, which is essentially what Kickstarter ends up being a lot of times, I think that's fantastic. But it only, so far at least, operates at a certain scale. In the console space, it's simply not viable.
Well, I think there are two things about Kickstarter. The first is that most of the Kickstarter games that I've seen die deserve to die. I mean, there's a lot of really terrible stuff that you're like, really, you really thought that people invest in that? But the other thing is, the flip side of that is that Kickstarter is one of those places where success begets success. Once you cross the 500,000 threshold, suddenly you raise flags, and everybody likes to bet on a winner, right? And so the people that hit certain thresholds have a lot easier time getting to the next threshold. So
I also like to make a couple comments on Kickstarter. One, it's not actually investment. So for anybody who does do Kickstarter, this is a donation. Consider it like charity. They're going to promise to give you something, but maybe. So always keep that in mind. So Kickstarter is not an investment. You're not getting anything out of it. Don't expect anything. Consider it a charity or a charitable donation. If you get something, you just be happy about it. And the second thing, when you're on the independent side, there's a lot of legalities into it. I've been recently looking to this myself for a lot of different reasons. And there's some government agencies that are very interested in getting their tax dollars. And there's some other government agencies that are very interested in making sure you don't do anything or make statements that would then hold you liable. So if you do consider Kickstarter, please make sure to do all of your research, not just what should I sell.
Also, be sure to read the article by the game company that didn't realize that what they were selling on Kickstarter actually cost more than what they were asking for, and so they actually lost money on their Kickstarter pledges. So.
Yeah, and as a minimum, realize that if you raise $2 million from 17,842 backers, those are people that you now have to they feel like they're invested. They feel like, whether they are investors or not, they feel like they're your co-visionary game designers, and that's a community now for you to manage. So it's not like they just throw some money over the fence and you can go make a game or just never come back, and they don't really care. It doesn't go that way.
One of the nice things that the Chris Avalon's group discovered is, oh, hey, we can make digital items and give those to you. So they don't have the cost of goods problem. So instead of giving you T-shirts and figurines and whatnot, they're actually giving you items inside the game, which is something that we can do that a lot of other people who are doing Kickstarters can't do. So.
Yeah, definitely think about that, because managing a community of 17,000 when you're still trying to figure out what kind of game exactly you're going to make, that's not easy.